Hi, my name's Isabelle and this is my product for the year 2030 with the brand Gymshark. So as a brand, Gymshark have many strengths and also opportunities. They have a very strong brand image, they're very popular among the younger age group, but they also have a lot of opportunities in terms of collaborations with athletes and where they can push their business further. So in terms of their market positioning, they're very in with all of the high-end brands. They've got very good high quality, they're not too high in price, so they're just right back in the middle, which to be honest is quite good with the competitive market that they are in. So their current consumer, so males and females, however just focusing on females at the moment, so they're very active, they're young, they're energetic, strong-minded, they're a leader, they're generous, they're very into their health and fitness, and they love going to the gym. And then also males, so similar again, they're educated, they're up for an adventure, they're open-minded, they're leaders, and very strong-willed. So in terms of the Gymshark consumer for the year 20, or up to until 2030, I think that they're going to be very high tech, but then also very into the actual personal experience as well as the virtual. They'll be teaching youngers about it and almost leading the way with the technology. So gym wear over time. So every year gym wear trends repeat and repeat again. From the 1980s to the 2000s, you can see time and time again similar trends in terms of colours, materials used, styles, and this is a big part of the gym wear industry. So my mission is, so Gymshark will be a leading competitor in gym technology. They will unite individuals within the sport industry with affordable gym wear that allows everyone to track in-depth detail about themselves. So it puts emphasis on being fashion forward within this innovative industry. It wants to inspire and influence individuals to fulfill their potential. So my vision for the product. So in 10 years, Gymshark will be a leader in gym technology. I think they first will need to do this by introducing a tracker that they test on people and influencers and get positive feedback. In terms of the diffusion of innovation model, I think it's important that they get it out there, get it on YouTube, so that the influencers can write their feedback about the product, which I'll explain a little bit more about in a minute. So, my 12-month plan. I think Gymshark needs to introduce, or should introduce, a Gymshark tracker. This tracker is about this size and will stick onto the item of clothing, well not stick, attach. And so it measures things such as a muscle fat, suggests exercises based off goals, blood pressure, heart rate, and accurate calories burned. So the tracker does need to be removed before you wash the item of clothing. However, it's easily attachable. The colour that I predict should be used is aqua, and I think it should be a scale of like blueies and more greens as well. It doesn't have to be just the one colour. And this is because WGSN have predicted aqua to be the popular colour in 2021. This just has a look at the social media. So very bright, colourful. Let me show you this one as well. And this links to the app. So how it works is the app links to the tracker via Bluetooth. And this is a free service when you buy the clothes, and it's no extra price. So for this, in terms of short term, there are so many issues and current political situations happening right now, especially in terms of the coronavirus. I think this will have a direct effect on how Gymshark will be going forward, in terms of the fact that people are going to have less spending money due to not working and just trying to be more careful of how they're spending. And then also in terms of just the legal side of things, I think everything's going to get more strict, and it's important, especially with the app, that it's promoting positivity, especially because of everything with mental health at the minute, and for the foreseeable future. It's all about encouraging a healthy lifestyle, and so the app needs to be monitored regularly to make sure that it is doing this. So in terms of the 5-year plan, so what happens now is the tracker is going to progress, and it's just going to get smaller and smaller so that it actually is seamless within the material. So the gym tracker is embedded within the material and does not need to be removed when washing. So the sensors are embedded at special points, and they deliver the material collected via Bluetooth to your iPhone. And this is quite revolutionary, really, because you don't need to attach it how you would. You've got your Mizo band, you've got your Fitbit, you don't need to put them on. It's already in your gym wear. Another key element is that it will accurately be able to monitor your posture due to where the sensors are placed. So this is also a zero waste campaign, so all the materials used are either recyclable or natural or from storage. And the clothes are meant to be long lasting and durable. This here is an example of the gym wear. So it'll be grey, it's grey, like a neutral colour, or it could be white or beige or even black, and then it goes to a brighter colour, like an ombre effect. So in terms of the midterm plan, the collection will be launched online on all platforms, just basically updating the technology. So fitness pop-ups will open around the UK where people can test out the updated technology. So, and in terms of the app, this will be updated, and this is an opportunity for Gymshark to either go on the WeChat and get a platform on there, or have their own platform. It's very important as well that in terms of the colour scheme, so Fashionizers showed that in 2015, classic blue, scuba blue and strawberry pink were very popular colours, and when I looked back at the trends, these are just recurring year in, year out. So I think within the next 4 to 5 years, Gymshark need to introduce these colours in one of their collections, well, in this one. So social media, I think it's really important that Gymshark don't just stick with gym pop-ups around the UK, and I think it's really important that they should target big events, get people interested in different types of sport. So I propose that Gymshark should go to the 2024 Olympics in Paris, and then also the 2028 Olympics in LA. I think this will be a very good opportunity to get media coverage. Social media, it would just be crazy to get live videos, interviews with the actual athletes, and monitor if maybe the influencers were doing exercises with the athletes and they could track it with their gym trackers. I think that would be very impressive. Also, I think it's important to offer lifestyle retreats, so getting involved in that virtual reality. If they took some influencers away, it's a wellness retreat, and then the consumers could maybe, what's it called, like VR, put their glasses on and be where they are. It'd be really interesting. So in terms of the midterm in their pedestal, so the BBC News has reported that already since the corona outbreak there's been quite a big climate change. So I think that once everything's maybe more settled from how it is currently, within the next 4 to 5 years there's going to be major changes in legislations in terms of manufacturing and so forth, which will obviously affect how Gymshark manufacture and where they manufacture, which is a positive for our planet. So, in terms of the long-term plan, so the main concept is that it's going to be, in 2030, it'll be 50 years since the 80s. And this collection is to basically revitalise the 80s nostalgia through bursts of colour. So how it will work is micro sensors will detect which of your muscles is moving, and then the material will change colour depending on that. So instead, in the past it's been seen where the material can change in terms of sweat. This doesn't work off sweat, this works off movement, because obviously no one wants their bright coloured under armpits and then everywhere else plain. So the sensors are embedded in the material and deliver the same as before, the Bluetooth to your iPhone, and you have more choice in terms of what colours you'd like it to change to. So the material can measure your heart rate, your BMI, your blood pressure, your hydration levels and your salt levels. And I think this is quite revolutionary and gives a different element to gym wear, makes it quite exciting, bright colours. So it would always start off like plain, and then as you're doing the exercise it would change colours in the specific areas that you were moving / working on. So this mood board just basically reflects the 80s theme and the reflecting on vintage classics, and is where I got the colour scheme from, pulling all the most popular colours from the 80s that year on year have come back in trend. And I think obviously 50 years since the 80s, it's going to be a big year. So long-term goals. So I think it's important, as well as obviously really promoting online, so making sure Gymshark's really involved in being on TikTok and so forth. I think it's important to also do step away from digital in elements. So I think they should have adverts around the London Underground and surrounding areas, for example in the bus stop, where barcodes that are exclusive to Gymshark, they scan it and it will link to the app, and then the individual can get exclusives. This could be outside really popular gyms, London gyms all around the UK, and I think it's just something exciting and makes it not all about the social media. And then also, this is having a look at the packaging. So for the year 2030, I think it's extremely important that Gymshark are doing their best to be as eco-friendly as possible. So making sure that all the materials used are recycled is so important, even if it's using recycled plastic bottles or fishnets and so forth. So social media, as I've spoken about before, I think it's really important that they have one platform. So that's whether they combine all of their platforms together or they go onto WeChat. I just think it's a very positive, big move for the brand. Especially as, for example, like Facebook and Twitter and these other social media platforms over the years are getting less popular. And also touching on the fact that they should go into augmented reality. So this has a look at the app shown through Adobe XD. So this is a place where they can just tell themselves a bit more about themselves and track their fitness to another level of what they have already been able to. And in terms of Gartner's hype cycle, I think they need to, they definitely need to be able to prove to people about the technology and to prove the success beforehand. So long term, in terms of the long term, personal data I think is a major, not necessarily issue, but an area that needs to be improved on and is very highlighted by WGSN. People will have more control over their data in terms of the ability to sell, control and store it, and especially with the app, Gymshark need to be really careful how they're storing the data. That is very protected. So I spoke to a gym tech consumer who uses trackers in his day-to-day life through his football career, and he basically just gave me a different perspective on gym technology and just suggested how it could be improved. And he spoke about how find it really interesting if it could predict future injuries before they could happen. So I looked into this with the sensors and figured out that if there's enough sensors, it basically can predict that, and if there's enough medical advice behind the app and so forth, then actual trained medics can give this sort of advice from what they get from the sensors. So fundamental differences. I think by 2030, gym wear is going to be much more fun, brightly coloured, it's going to be more technical. People don't need to be getting these fitness watches. They can just put on their gym clothes and it's got trackers in it. Much less of a fuss. And I think the industry as a whole will be more sustainable and just more have stricter guidelines. So technology breakdown. So I think a key part to focus, to mention, is that this is an Apple app that the sensors are sending the data to. So this doesn't work with other phones, but I think this is definitely an area that that Gymshark can improve on and so forth. Right. So Apple just have many pros and cons. Not pros and cons, they're very popular, everyone wants their products, and that's why I think it's important that Gymshark is linked to them, because they, especially with the younger generation, majority of people want that new iPhone and they want that new app, so making sure that they have a link to Apple is so important. And also it's important that they are really up to date with their competitors. And that's it. Thank you for listening.